There are 16 teams remaining in contention for the NBA championship, and in case you haven't been paying attention, don't know anything about the NBA, or just want a rundown of the best teams and players to look out for, then this video's for you. For the first time in NBA history, it seems like genuinely all of these teams in the West have pretty even odds of making it to the finals, and in the East, there are just so many juggernaut teams en route to clash. This will be one of the most interesting playoffs in over a decade, with young stars looking to leave their mark on NBA history, and veterans looking to crown off their stellar careers with one last accolade. Regardless of what will transpire, I'm about to break down all 16 teams, their best player, their X factor, their ceiling, and everything you need to know before the NBA playoffs in 2025 matchup by matchup. Real quick before we get into things though, I have to ask you all to subscribe as we are on the road to 10K, and I really appreciate all the support we can get. It's just one person working on these videos, me, so every like, comment, and subscriber helps. Alright, with the mandatory begging out of the way, let's break down the 2025 NBA playoffs. There's nowhere better to start in the West than with the most anticipated series of them all, the Lakers versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. The new look Lakers have looked stellar with one of the best playmakers on the planet in LeBron James and someone arguably better in LUKA. And whilst the Wolves started off iffy in the new era with Randall and DiVincenzo, they've managed to find their way back to the defensive identity whilst regaining that major loss in three-point production via Cat in the form of an unprecedented jump in percentages from their star Anthony Edwards. This will be the Wolves' chance to get back at LUKA for what he did last year, something Gobert desperately needs to do, and he's been playing well recently. On top of that, a lot of that lob threat and corner spacing offense that the Mavs implemented to beat the Wolves in the Western Finals last year isn't the way the Lakers have been running their offense. JJ has them more in sets. The X factor for this series is Julius Randle, with Anthony Edwards pretty much the sole perpetrator of this offense next to Randle, and Randle having been laughably awful in the playoffs throughout his career. It's up to him to see if the Wolves can keep up on the three ball and Randle can carry his load. Then we have a chance. Yes, I'm declaring myself as a we. I'm a Timberwolves fan, which is why it pains me to say my prediction is for us to lose this series to the Lakers in 7 games. And it could even be 6 if Anthony Edwards doesn't put on a Suns round 1 level performance. Next, we'll bounce over to the East for another 3 versus 6 matchup in the Knicks taking on the Pistons, and I am super intrigued with this one. The Knicks have one of the best starting fives, and Thibodeau is running them to the ground. But Brunson just got his ankle rehabbed, and he is one of the clutchest players and someone that is built for the NBA playoffs. That being said, they haven't been able to figure things out on defense with Cat, and yet Cat has still managed to propel them to a top 5 offense in the sport. They are dangerous from the half court. And looking over at Detroit, they have turned this wagon around thanks to veterans like Malik Beasley and Tobias Harris finding a real home in Motor City, and they've been second in fast break points of all teams this season. This is why I say the X factor for this series is Cade Cunningham. We're about to witness what Cade can really do, and if he's got that it factor of a #1 superstar pick to eventually win the Pistons some hardware. But as for now, given no injuries, I can't really bet on Cade and them. Give me the Knicks in a rough 6-game series. And while we're in the East, let's examine this rematch from last year between the Bucks and Pacers, in which this could go one of 2 ways. Number 1, the undermanned Bucks do exactly what they did when undermanned the past couple seasons and just get overpowered by the shooting and offensive production of these teams. Or number 2, the most underrated player in the sport of basketball who's averaging the quietest 30, 11, and 7 a game and has the coaches bending their battered roster around him, will go on a solo run of terror similar to 2018 LeBron. If there is anyone capable of a 2018 LeBron run, it's Giannis, especially considering LeBron's run began against a young, blossoming, star-led Indiana Pacers team. The no-Dame Bucks are on an 8-game winning streak, and Giannis has been arguably the best player on earth this month if Jokic didn't exist. The X factor in this series is honestly Siakam. If Siakam can slow Giannis down, which he has done once before this season, then the Pacers will win in 5. But give me the Greek Freak to pull this series off in 6. Bucks advance. Heading back to the Western Conference, let's take a look at yet another banger in Nuggets versus Clippers. And honestly, no matter what I say here, my opinion might flip-flop another 45 times before the games actually kick off. The Clippers have won 9 out of their last 10 and are undoubtedly the hottest team in basketball, and the Nuggets, the exact opposite of the spectrum. It is hard to pick a team that is more dysfunctional than the Nuggets, especially a team that is still in the playoff field. That being said, the Nuggets have the best player on the planet by far, and the Clippers have no way to stop that. Except they do. a little guy named Ivica Zubac. Zubac is statistically not only a Jokic stopper, but the best Jokic stopper in the NBA as it stands. On top of that, his leaps on the offensive side of the ball, thanks to Harden really being the commander of this offense, have been astronomical, and he will dominate Jokic in this series if he continues to play the way he has all season long. I think the X factor is Zubac, but it's also good to mention that the Clippers will need Kawhi to not collapse like he did in 2020 and continue to hold it down defensively whilst playing the Kawhi level basketball that he's returned to this season. I can see only one outcome in which the Denver Nuggets pull away with this series, and it's with a grueling 7-game series in which Jamal Murray becomes playoff Murray again and Christian Brown does what he's done the last postseason. Then and only then will the Nuggets have a chance, and regardless of what Zubac does, Jokic will find a way to thrive, but give me the Clippers to break the mold in 6 games. Now, it should be said that the play-in hasn't happened yet as of writing this, but I trust Jimmy Butler to handle the Grizzlies offensively when Curry is locked up, so I assume the Warriors are in this. The Warriors and Rockets is another series that is a lot of fun, mainly because of the major implications that this will have on how teams and fans approach series in the future. Do teams look to maximize their old veteran guards like the Warriors, or draft stack talented pieces behind a good coach like the Rockets, two very popular archetypes for playoff teams today? And whoever wins will prove whether we as fans should be betting on experience or the more well-rounded team. In my opinion, the Rockets have succeeded all season by just out-dogging opponents defensively, big in part due to the efforts of Ime Udoka. They run circles around teams and lock them down defensively, something that works perfectly against a team as old as Golden State. However, the Warriors have one of the deepest and most involved benches in basketball, and so they can keep up with that. The biggest factor in this series is whether Steve Kerr can adjust, because the Rockets have absolutely solved the Warriors just days ago, with Fred VanVleet perfectly countering Draymond and Jimmy's post games, and Amen Thompson physically trapping Curry out of plays and forcing the Warriors into 4v4 basketball situations from the half court against some of the best 4 defenders in the game that have them figured out. The X factor for this series will be Jimmy Butler. Everyone on the Warriors is looking to swing the rock aside from Curry, who might be on Thompson Island for a majority of the series, and this means that playoff Jimmy will have to be on full display in a way that he hasn't been for the Warriors this offense. That being said, they've got multiple spot-up shooters and a good motor to be the Max Struses and Caleb Martins from that 2023 run. Guys like Gary Payton II and Quentin Post and Brandon Pajemski, and Jimmy being Jimmy is the only way the Warriors can weasel their way out of this one. I think Jimmy can be, and I trust Steve Kerr to plan around this Rockets team. However, Ime Udoka has watched a lot of Warriors basketball. Let's not forget the finals where he coached the Celtics against them. I think when it comes down to it, the series will be a war of attrition, and the Rockets will have a home crowd to negate experience in Game 7, a plan to negate Stephen Curry, and an offense that has the capability of keeping up. Give me the Houston Rockets in 7 games. Keep in mind, as I'm writing this, again, the play-in is still underway, and regardless of who comes out, I think that all 3 of these teams are untouchable round 1. The Magic could honestly make some noise against the Celtics if they make it to play against them, but I don't think they will. I think the Celtics will honestly just shut them down with this big roster. Have the Cavs slipped a little? Yes, but I don't think it'll matter down the stretch. And the Thunder are the Thunder. They're not giving up a game to any of these shit teams. Give me the Thunder, Cavs, and Celtics to take care of business early in these playoffs. This leaves us with a second round that looks like this, and from here things get interesting. We will start with the Thunder and the Clippers in the West, yet another battle of one of the 2 ways to contend right now, and I think that despite what you may think, the Thunder will hold it down with ease in this series. This defensive backcourt of the Thunder has shut down Harden 3 times already this season, and although Kawhi gave them trouble a few weeks ago coming back, who is my X factor for this series, this might not even matter because Kawhi could be injured. Plus, Chet Holmgren was out for that game in March. I think the Thunder just have so many guys that outclass the Clippers' depth, and I can see the Thunder winning this one in just 5 games. Now it's time for the Lakers versus the Rockets, and man, I absolutely hate the Rockets this playoffs because I can't simply gauge whether they're legit or just another regular season champ that folds under playoff time like the 2021 Jazz. I think the chess match that will unfold between Ime Udoka trying to defensively game this equally small team while JJ Redick plays around with all of his new offensive toys will be so much fun to watch. These teams are truly yin and yangs of each other, with the Rockets being a defensive version of the Lakers and vice versa with offense for LA. I think the X factor for this series is Fred VanVleet. Can he make the clutch threes and shots that we've seen him make in regular season games that mattered and in playoffs of past? Can he be the backbone in the clutch for this Rockets team that lacks experience? I don't think the Rockets will be able to keep up with that playmaking and infinite methods of bucket getting that the Lakers have late in games, and so give me the Lakers to win this one in a Game 6 at home. Let's head to the East for Knicks and Celtics. These teams have faced off recently with their starters, and it was an absolutely great game. I think the key matchup to watch here is Kristaps versus Cat. Cat has dominated Kristaps this season, and Kristaps has done the same. These two just pour in points, working as pretty similar pieces for their teams. And regardless of what goes on in this series, it is sure to be one of the most entertaining of the season. When it really boils down to things, and the Knicks are worn from a season season of 100 plus minutes for each of their starters, as well as a rough record defensively, I think the Celtics will just have too many outlets of scoring and come away with this series in 6 games. But if Jason Tatum doesn't get going from the jump, it may take 7. The final second round matchup comes between the Bucks and the Cavaliers. As much as I'd love to pick the 2018 LeBron Giannis over the Cavs, it's impossible to ignore that they've been swept in this season against the Cavs, and the Cavs have an insurmountable amount of depth and size to where even while Giannis has averaged 34 and 15 against them this season, they simply cannot win because the Cavs can go all day long. I'd like to say that Dame is a potential X factor, giving them some much needed extra offensive production, but I can't because he opens up so many gaps defensively and it's unclear whether he'll return or not. Give me the Cavs in 5. It's conference finals time, and that means back-to-back for LUKA taking on the Thunder. Both of these teams played against each other 2 weeks ago and seemingly solved one another. And when we shorten rotations in the playoffs, that gave the Lakers yet another advantage, but the Thunder have proven themselves unbeatable when they're hitting their shots. I'm interested to see how the Lakers will respond to a long-term plethora of scrappy Thunder defenders and how those defenders will respond to an offense more than capable of challenging them on switches, singling them out on the perimeter, and making the shots they need to make late in games. In the end, as much as I love the story of LUKA and LeBron, old and new, against the world, SGA, PSA, TVA, Lakers in 5, I just can't see the world where the Thunder don't have an answer for them defensively and where the Lakers can shoot at a high enough clip to keep up. Give me the Thunder in 6 games. The Eastern Conference Finals honestly might be the greatest series this entire playoffs has to offer. Both of these teams are absolutely loaded in the starting lineup. Both of these teams have benches deep enough to generate so many points and have 6-man of the year contenders. Donovan Mitchell has torched Jrue Holiday all season long in their season meetings, and Jason Tatum has torched the Cavs. This season is so even, they even split the season series 2 apiece. I think it all comes down to, regardless of coaching changes and roster changes, the fact that these two teams faced off last year without Kristaps for a part of that series, and the Celtics still managed to dominate them and put them away in 5 when it mattered most. And so adjusted for this year, and considering their great pieces like DeAndre Hunter that could cause some of the serious non-starting units that the Celtics throw out some trouble, I will have to go with this series making it to 6 games and the Celtics clinching their 2nd straight finals at home in TD Garden, as much as it pains me. That leaves us with the Celtics facing the Thunder for a Larry O'Brien trophy. Let's break it down. First of all, I cannot overstate the similarities between these two teams. I mean, it is uncanny. However, the Thunder swept the season in their first 2 meetings of the season, beating a Celtics team with no Kristaps in March and also beating a fully healthy Celtics team without even having Chet back in January. As of now, with home court advantage, it's clear to see that the Thunder have the Celtics numbers, which is why I say that this comes down to one man, the X factor of this entire playoffs, Jason Tatum. I think that if Jason Tatum really craves that iconic legacy that he so badly desires, especially after a cakewalk finals run that was last season, then capping off this tumultuous run with a championship over one of the greatest regular season teams ever, who is home to the MVP and becoming the superstar that's unquestionably the finals MVP and wins that 18th banner for Boston, then it's time we sit back and start having some serious conversations about the Green Gooner. I like Jaylen Brown in the finals more than Jalen Williams. I like the 3-point advantage and defensive ability that both of these teams have, and I think that it'll just boil down to superstar versus superstar for the glory. And you know what? Against all odds, I'm going to be the first to tell you that this series will be the one that defines the career of Jason Tatum. Celtics in a shocking 7-game series. And so that's it. That's all 16 teams' paths explained, predicted, and everything you pretty much need to know or keep in mind for this upcoming 2025 playoffs. Let me know in the comments down below if you think I made a huge mistake on some of these picks or if you agree with me. And I put all of these picks in my bracket group on NBA.com, and if you guys want to compete against me, then enter this code on the screen for the chance to win and be featured in a video. VHNDFRJ2. If you enjoyed, please subscribe because I'm going to be posting NBA playoff content twice weekly until June. So as always, subscribe, it's free.